Hello lovely peeps, hello newbies, hello resetters. And Kerry is one of our best loved HBDers. She's been with us for quite a while and she's very active in the community and she posts a lot. And she's very inspiring and she's always there with a loving hand to help and support others on their HBD voyage of discovery. And she started the Friday Inspo. I'll put them up later, but there are lots of really fabulous posts from HBDers with their before and after photos and talking about their non-scale victories as well. Because remember that weight loss really occurs on this programme as a side effect of everything being brought back into balance, including a lessening of inflammation and re-regulated blood sugar and insulin levels. So Kerry started the Friday Inspo and she's posted some amazing pictures up there. And do have a look at her previous ones because they are really inspiring. And we all know that weekends at the beginning, sort of the early weekends on HBD, can be the most challenging because everybody seems to be out having a lovely time, except those of us who are doing the reset, and that includes newbies, of course, and it can be quite a challenge. So do have a look later. I'll put up lots of Friday Inspo pictures, and do have a look at Kerry's grid, and remember that it's really putting one foot in front of the other. It's keeping your whys in mind, why you started HBD, what was it that drew you to it in the first place, what you want to achieve, whether it be weight loss or resolution of pain or gut problems or skin disorders or whatever it is. Because if you're really, really clear about your whys, it makes it much easier to stick to. That is really, really true. So if you haven't already, now is the moment to write them down at the end of this live. Write down what it was that inspired you, what you want to change. Not only what you want to change, but how that's going to affect you and affect your life on a deep level, how it's going to change your experience of life. That's really, really important. Lovely lurkers, and lots of lovely lurkers actually have come out a bit since last week's lunch and are joining in a bit more. And it's fine to be shy and not to post, but do, if you see something inspiring, do repost it, even if it's not a post or a story from you, because we always love to hear from you and how you're getting on. I'm just on my morning run. Just if you don't mind, I will just listen to you. Phase 3, that's fine. And just a word about exercise. No exercise, except walking. Unless you're already very fit, and then you can do gentle running in phase 3 if you're used to it. But remember that HBD and exercise are mutually exclusive. You have to choose at this point one or the other. There was an interesting article I saw yesterday, which I will share with you. I'll try and remember to do that. And it was about calorie-restricted diets, which you are on for the first 2 weeks. There's not quite so much restriction in phase 3 because we've reintroduced olive oil in treat meals. Saying that what happens is if you exercise and you're not eating enough calories is you just burn through your muscles. And there is also that story about Matt Rudd in both books, both the first edition and the second edition. And Matt Rudd decided he wanted to develop the body of an Adonis, and so he joined in lots of spinning classes, and he went back to see the guy who had the body composition analyzer a few months later. And he started with the good news. He said, well, you certainly lost a lot of weight, but the bad news is most of it's muscle, and actually had more fat and less muscle when he went back for his body composition analysis than he had when he started. So please don't do it. Please don't be tempted. I will also post you some printouts I had from somebody when I was still in clinic who didn't believe me about the exercise. And we saw, week on week, he used to come and see me every week, his fat was going up and his muscle was going down. And he didn't believe about the no exercise rule. Not only was his fat going up, but also his visceral fat, the dangerous fat around the organs, had also increased. And it was really dramatic what happened when he stopped exercising. He took the rules seriously and his muscle went up and his fat went down. And he was just going for walks. So just stick to walking for now. Really, really, really important. And Claire, Diet, Health, Fitness, is amazing. You've probably heard her story. She was suffering from chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and never ever thought that she could exercise in her life. Got to the end of phase 3, started swimming, and now she's a seasoned gym buddy and she goes on really long runs and everything else. But please don't look at her profile and think, well, she's still in the first 3 phases of HBD. She is very firmly in phase 4. So that's a really important point to make. And people still believe that old chestnut about having to eat less and exercise more to lose weight. And HBD proves that that is, I was going to say something very rude, it proves that it's just not true. What's really important, what really counts, is what's on the end of our fork. What we're eating, how much of it, and when. So we're eating pretty much even portions of protein foods and carbohydrates, which is mainly vegetables. We're having at least 5 hours between meals. We're drinking lots and lots of water, and we are sleeping as much as possible, and we're doing very little exercise. We're just walking. So please don't believe those stories about having to exercise until you're sick to lose weight. They're just not true. And you, if you're a newbie, you're about to prove that. You're about to disprove that ridiculous old motto about, the best way to lose weight. It's just not true. So yeah, I just wanted to say to you, weekends can be very tricky. Like I said, everybody seems to be out having fun. So this is the moment really to look inwards, to remind yourself why you're doing this, to look back at the Friday Inspo started by Kerry HBD and all the Friday Inspos I've reposted, and to remind yourself why you're doing it, and probably to keep yourself to yourself, especially for the first weekend, which tends to be the hardest, and just to get really organised and tidy and think about what you're doing and be grateful to your body for seizing its chance to quell the inflammation and to return you to really great health and to help you lose weight if that's what you're after, what your main thing is. And I hope that a lot of you who are just starting out on HBD will have taken the advice in the book. It's sort of much clearer in the second edition, but if you've got the first edition, work with that. It works very well. About getting rid of dairy for the first 2 weeks, because so many of us have a problem with it, and it can affect us in any way from energy to sinus problems, to skin problems, to joint problems, to gut problems, almost anything. And if you cut it out completely, it has to be 100%, that is, dairy means yogurt and cheese as far as HBD goes, and then reintroduce it in phase 3, you might be very surprised about what dairy was doing to you on a drip daily basis so that you barely noticed it. You might have really a really strong reaction to it. And the same thing what can happen when you reintroduce grains, particularly gluten grains. So it could be rye bread or wheat if you're having that at a treat meal. So be careful of treat meals. If the sugar monster has been a big problem for you and you've got through your first week without it, well done you. Be very, very careful. We'll talk more about treat meals when it comes to phase 3, but be very, very careful about reawakening the sugar monster, because the sugar monster is very good at pretending to be asleep or dormant and then springs back into action at the first sign of sugar. So just a word of warning there. It's really, really serious about the exercise. I'm not just making that up or pretending about it. It's really, really, really key. And actually I heard from a lot of perimenopausal, menopausal ladies who really resonated with something actually it's in both books, about ladies, midlife ladies, who realise that they're piling on the pounds despite not eating anymore. And so then they the tendency, and I did it myself, is to eat less and less and less, to have longer and longer and longer fasts, to exercise more and more and more. And you know what? It doesn't help. What helps is to get that breakfast in within an hour of waking. That helps to reset our leptin sensitivity. And that's a really vital part, not just of weight loss, but of reducing inflammation and overall health, to resensitize our body, our brain to leptin. Really, really key. And to eat 3 meals a day and to forget about those long, long fasts. Once you're in phase 3, of course, experiment with whatever you'd like to experiment with. And I quite often do, I haven't done it for a bit, but I quite often just eat 1 meal a day, otherwise known as OMAD, which does make your brain feel very much sharper. And there is some research about that in the second edition of The Human Being Diet, which is available from the HBD website and also from Amazon. The key for exercise is, can you keep up a conversation, even if it's just with yourself? If you can, that's fine. If you're panting, if you're out of breath, you're going too far. So let us know, Lucy. Lucy by the Sea, I'm guessing, does winter swims as well. How lovely, lucky thing. We're still in our 10-degree frozen, well, it's a freezer, which Ricardo sealed up, and it's full of icy water. It's very scary the first time. You don't think you might die. But gradually, you go in for longer and longer. It's the same thing with cold water swimming. You realise you're not going to die, and actually, it makes you really energized and really elated. So yeah, do miss swimming in the SUPs. And HBD cold water swimming, who I met, Emma, last week, is going to be posting when it gets colder again, because they've been having a bit of a problem in the SUPs with blue-green algae, which apparently is very toxic, and so it's been closed. It'll be open again soon, with any luck. Hello, Creative Curry Girl. I'm going to get creative with curry. I've got a couple of really good books, and they are now unpacked in our lovely house, so I'm going to get cooking. We have got, I'm very, very spoiled, the most amazing kitchen, and it's huge, and all we had to do to it was paint it, because it was a very questionable kind of brown colour, which is not, I don't know, it didn't kind of fill the heart with joy going in there, but it does now. And if I make any good HBD curry discoveries, I will be sure to share. HBD Martha, electrolytes added to water, much more palatable. It really helps, doesn't it? So remember, if you're going to get electrolytes, either Viridian Sports, which are on the HBD website, always, if you can find them cheaper somewhere else, do get them somewhere else. I'm not going to be, get moody about anything like that. The HBD website shop was really put up to help you. It's to kind of for your convenience. And I know it doesn't always help you, because there are things that I recommend that aren't on there. But we're not natural shopkeepers. We're not very good at it. We might possibly get better, we'll see. But you can get the basic stuff on there. So make sure, coming back to electrolytes, that they are unflavoured and unsweetened. You just want the pure electrolytes, and they do make the water more palatable. Just Revive Active, hi there. Your supplements, they are amazing. And especially, I used to use Revive Active, which are flavoured sachets, so no good for us HBDers, but I used to stir them into water for my darling mum, because she couldn't swallow pills, and I think they really, really helped. It's lovely to see you here. Lucy by the Sea, thanks. Swim and dip in the summer, just dip in the winter. Love it. Went in this morning for a float in the sunshine. What heaven. How lovely. And I love, that's how us human beings evolved. We apparently moved from the interior of Africa to the sea, started eating shellfish, which we didn't need to have much in the way of brains to catch, because we just picked them off the ocean floor. And as human beings, we have always had a heavenly and healing time by the seaside, and that's borne out by our summer holidays. Most of us, that's our idea of heaven, frolicking on the beach and in the sea and eating lots of seafood and getting some lovely rays. And if you're still about to have your holiday, remember that SPF, sun protection factor 8 or higher, blocks vitamin D synthesis via cholesterol in our skin. So go out early and late, not in the burning sun, obviously, without screen on. And then if you are in the sun, in the heat, which I don't really recommend, do put your screen on then. But try and allow your skin to make some natural vitamin D, because as we know, nearly everybody is low on vitamin D. HBD Sophie D, not exercise works for me, as I have ME/CFS, so activity can trigger the post-exertional malaise. So your diet is a dream for me. Welcome, HBD Sophie D. And yeah, I'm sure you already know about Claire Diet Health Fitness, and look at her to be inspired and to know that this is not a life sentence. Ruby here, hello, on day 8 of phase 2, can I have yogurt and fruit for breakfast? I would say no. Stay off the dairy until you reach phase 3. Completely off yogurt and cheese, and see what happens when you reintroduce it. Anyway, my darlings, I'm going to leave it there. And lots of love, everybody, meantime, and thank you for joining. Bye.